Okay, our last presenter is Jennifer Mozeke, better known as Mozeke. She is native of Dallas, but grew up in Louisiana. Mozeke is a certified professional midwife through the North American Registry of Midwives, NARM, a licensed midwife in Texas, and has attended over 100 births. She is also in her final year of studies at Mercy in Action College of Midwifery, where she is obtaining a Bachelor of Science in Midwifery degree. In addition to her current collegiate pursuit, she also has a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Louisiana at Monroe and a Master of Arts in Arts, Entertainment, and Media Management from Columbia College, Chicago. Mozeke's journey to midwifery began years ago after the birth of her first child. The experience left her with an intense passion for reproductive justice, birth equity, and postpartum wellness. The calling was undeniable, and soon after the birth of her second child in 2017, she was able to answer that call. Mozeke believes that midwifery care should be an affordable and easily accessible option for any pregnant woman who desires holistic, evidence-based, family-centered care where pregnancy is not viewed as an illness, but rather as a unique and normal process of life. She is dedicated to serving families in the Dallas-Fort Worth area through education, nutritional counseling, advocacy, prenatal, labor, birth, and postpartum care. And now I will stop sharing my screen and let Mozeke be the presenter so she can start sharing hers. Okay, you have control.
Okay. Can everybody see me and hear me?
Mozeke, I am not able to hear you.
Okay, let me try something.
You can hear me? Mary says that she can hear you, so it must be something on my end here. Yep, other people are saying that they can hear you fine, so I say go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. So my presentation is the Millennial Midwife, your practice and your business model. So for many midwives, running a business is not really something they ever intended to do. They just wanted to be a midwife. And while I understand that, we're still business owners. So it's really important to run our practices like a business. And I really, really, really love midwives. After using a midwife with my own kids and becoming a midwife, I truly just love midwives, and I want midwives to flourish. I want midwifery to be sustainable, and I want midwives to have profitable businesses. So this is where you would start.
Mozeke, I'm sorry, but we're unable to see whatever you're sharing. So people are saying that they can hear you, but they can't see you.
Okay. One time.
Okay, that's up. Great. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay. Just a second. Okay. You see?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So where you would start when you have just starting your practice would be to make a business plan. I know you guys don't want to hear that. You're like, I don't know business, I don't know business plan. However, it is really, really important to have a business plan. Questions like, do you want to be a solo midwife? Do you want to be in a partnership? Would you like to be in a group practice? Those are really important questions that you need to answer. You need to kind of know before you start. To be in a partnership with just one person, two people? Do you want to be in a group practice that's already been established and you're just kind of coming onto something that's already there? Do you want to work out of an office? Do you want to strictly do home care? And thinking about where you see yourself in your business 5, 10, 15 years from now. And when answering that question in particular, you have to be very, very specific. So do you want to continue to practice in Texas, or do you plan on moving? Do you want to have scheduled time off for like vacations or holidays? How much money do you want to make? Do you anticipate any type of large expenditures like purchasing a house, a car, sending some kids off to college? Also, do you plan on adding to your family? If you know that you're going to be starting a family or you want to add to your family, that's a really important question to answer and to know ahead of time. One of the other things you want to answer is who's your target demographic? Like, who's your target market? So just to give you a little bit of background information, according to some information, in 2018, Dallas County had a population of 2.64 million people with a median age of 33.5 years old and a median household income of $59,840. In Taylor County, it was over 2 million with a median age of 34.6 years old and a median household income of just over 66,000. So between these two counties, over 52% of its population is female, which is really important because that's our population that we're trying to market. So in addition to just thinking about demographics, you also want to think about psychographics. And so psychographics is really important because it's about lifestyle. When you figure out who it is you're trying to market to, like where do they shop? Where do they live? What do they like to eat? Are they using essential oils? Do they like to vacation in certain places? These are all the psychographics that you want to think about, because the more things that you can narrow down, the more you can very specifically market to your clientele, the more likely you'll be able to find them because you are marketing directly to where they are. Once you have all of these questions answered and you figured out how you want to practice, where you want to practice, and where you want to go in the future, the next thing you want to figure out is how much it's going to cost you to get there. So that leads to services. So if you are selling products like a Nike store, it would be cost of goods sold, which is what most people are used to hearing. But because we are in a service industry, it's cost of services sold. And so your cost of services are just the costs that can be directly traced to services you've offered. Once you have that information, expenses, and this is all the costs you have even when you have no clients. So for us, that would be like our license, NRP, BLS, all the things that we have just to be licensed midwives, even if you had no clients at all. The next thing you want to know is how much money do you need to survive? Number, like bare minimum, how much do you need just to survive? Once you have that number, then you figure out how much money do you need to live the lifestyle you want to live. Do you like traveling? Do you like eating out? Do you have a large family? Are you single? Or are you married? That's why this plan is so important, because it's based on your practice and your life. There is no single right or wrong answer. It's just what's good for you and your practice. So you use this information to determine your minimum fee that you need to charge, how many clients you need per year, how much money you need to set aside for your expenses and cost of services, how to plan for vacations and time off, and then if and when you can give discounts. Because again, if you are giving discounts for your services, but it doesn't cover your overhead expense or your cost of services, well, then you are working into the hole. And again, I love midwives. I want them to be sustainable. I want their practices to be profitable. So it's really important to know, can you afford to give a discount? Because in some instances, you really might not be able to right now. Maybe a year from now, you'll be able to, but right now you just can't. And that's okay. But you need to know that. So knowing all of this, you plan for the future instead of just kind of waiting for things to happen to you. And you'll know exactly how much you need and how many clients you can take on, and that allows you to plan better for the future. What if I told you that invoicing doesn't have to be that difficult? I know there's a lot of people who don't like talking. And what if you don't have to? Why don't we just take technology and let that kind of do it for us? The things that we can do to help make the process of collecting payments easier is to use card processing platforms. And what these do is that they allow you to do automatic payments, and you can do reoccurring invoices. So places like Square, PayPal, QuickBooks, you can all set these up to do automatic payments and automatic invoices, so that once you set it up, you don't have to ask for money anymore. It'll just automatically send an invoice to your client that they can pay. So some of the benefits of doing that is it saves time. Obviously, midwives' time is very precious. Also, our schedules are really inconsistent. You may mean to send an invoice to someone today, but you end up at a birth, and it's a really long birth, and then you're tired the next day. And so now 2 or 3 days has passed by, and you're like, oh, wait, I forgot to send that invoice. When you use reoccurring invoices, you don't have to think about it. You just set it and forget it. Let's take some time to kind of set this up in the beginning. But again, once you set it up, it's done. And you will need a smartphone or a computer and internet access to do this. So if that's something that isn't reliable for you or you don't have, then this will be something that'd be more difficult for you to do. Another way that we can make sure that we get our money is to have virtual consultations. I know that there's lots of people who have set up a consult or an interview, and then the client never shows. And so depending on if you have kids or not, or how far away you live from wherever you were meeting, you've had to pay for childcare, and you've driven a considerable distance to get to the place to meet them. So setting up virtual consultations allows for more flexibility. And if someone doesn't show and you're just doing your virtual consult from home, then you didn't have to leave. So from a potential client, if you direct them to the website. If not, that's not a problem. But just make the conversation as short as possible. So give them kind of like a good outline, 15 minutes or less. Get their email address, and then send them your financial contract. I found that people really like the transparency of knowing exactly what it's going to be before they sign on the dotted line. Make sure that the number of clients per month. We're going to talk about why a little bit later. For one, you want to try to do this to weed out some of the people that may not be able to come to where you are. There's some people who will see your fee and say, you know what, that's kind of out of my budget, and that's okay. You shouldn't have to, again, offer discounts unless you know you can afford to offer discounts. And if you really can't afford to offer any discounts, and unless it's in your business plan that you have something set up to where you can meet those people's needs, it's okay not to change your price just so that you can have that client, or so that that client can have you. So for people who can't and they want to hire you, right now is the time to set your expectations. So another good reason to use invoicing is that you can send them an invoice for your deposit or your retainer fee before your first visit. It's 2020. Most people are used to paying for things online, buying things online, and receiving invoices from companies and businesses. So receiving an invoice isn't something outlandish that they've never seen before. So your deposit, then you can set up their intake appointment. And so you've already gotten your deposit before the intake, and you know they're committed and wanting to really hire you. They've also gotten a chance to read over your paperwork. And side note, if you have a website, you can also put your paperwork on your website, and then people can see that and already get a chance to read it before they come in. And with most websites, there is an opportunity where you can make a page private so that only people that you want to give access to it can see that private page. And you can set it up to where they're only able to access it after they've done an interview with you. It's however you want it. And creating multiple streams of revenue is really important. Birth work is very up and down. There are seasons of lots of clients, and then there's seasons of fewer clients. Creating multiple streams of revenue allows you to supplement your income when you don't have as many clients. And so by creating multiple streams of revenue, what I mean by that is what other things can you do just besides your midwifery care? So selling essential oils or amber necklaces, maybe tub rentals. There's lots of different things that you can do, but just creating multiple streams of revenue is really helpful. Also, if you have a website or if you blog at all, there's lots of ways to create additional revenue from your website or from your blog. Amazon has Amazon Associates is one way that you can do that. Sorry, I'm outside. Another way that you can create more revenue is to build value. So you may not be able to increase your price. So let's say, for example, the going price in your area is like $4,000. So if that's kind of the going area and you want to charge $5,000, people might not be as likely to choose you if your price is $1,000 more than everybody else. But if you can build value into why someone would choose you. So maybe you will collaborate with another provider in your area. So if they choose you for midwifery care, they also get 4 visits with a chiropractor that you are partnering with, or a doula, or maybe like a mini pregnancy session with a photographer and they get like 5 free photos. There's just lots of ways that you can build value for your business so that it will make you stand out and also attract more business. Good communication is really, really important. Because I know that, like I said before, midwives' time is very valuable. And also, in order to use technology the way that we need to use it and the way that would make your business a little bit easier to manage, you really need to be able to have good communication with potential clients and current clients so that they know exactly what to expect and they know what you're going to deliver. So, texting appointment reminders, you don't have to. You can use the technology to make your life easier. There are lots of apps and lots of programs where you can schedule appointments and they send automatic appointment reminders through text or through email. So you don't have to remember them. Again, it's set it and forget it. You decide when, how you want it set up, and then use the technology for you. Having clients text you, is that what you want? Making sure that you have clear expectations of when your hours are, and then not breaching your own contract. If you tell your clients that non-emergency communication is between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m., stick to that. It's very tempting, especially with texting, because we're so used to just responding right then. But if you respond outside of that time frame, you've already broken your own boundary, and then your client is more likely to continue to do it. But if you stick to your boundaries, then they're more likely to adhere to them. But of course, at first, you have to know what they are and to clearly communicate those boundaries to your client. Where you contact it. So it's your private telephone with your personal line or a business line. You can get a free business line through Google Voice and just have that line ring your regular phone. So you're not having to keep up with 2 separate phones. So it's not like any of these things are increasing your costs, because many of these apps and programs are free. So you're not having to pay more money for them. To just be their midwife. You don't have to with your client. You don't have to share personal things outside of what would be appropriate in your scope of practice. You don't have to go hang out with your clients at their house. They don't have to come hang out with their clients. Hang out with you at your house. Sometimes that's the client's expectation that, they're going to be BFFs with their midwife. And it doesn't make you a bad person or a bad midwife if you don't want to hang out with your client at their house. It's okay to just be their midwife and to be a great midwife and to do your job well. But boundaries up in the very beginning of what you'll do, what you won't do, what's appropriate and what's inappropriate communication and interaction. Also, it's okay to just say no. We all love being a midwife. I know your heart is in it, but to have longevity and to still love what you do 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, we have to take care of ourselves. So it's okay to step away from birth work and birth workers, to just take some time. Somebody's probably thinking like, I can't take time off, but we talked about how to do that earlier when you set up your business plan. When you know how much money you need to make, then you can schedule in times to take off. So everyone needs to just recharge, and we need that time so that we can come back feeling renewed, because you can't pour from an empty vessel. It's okay to tell your clients no, and yes, even repeat clients. It's okay to tell sister midwives no, your friends, family, your kids, your partner, your students. It's okay to say no, that you just don't have the capacity right now. And if you can't say no, then at least say just not now. This is an area that some people take to very easily, and they just get it and they pick it up and they go with it. And then there's other people, myself included, that just isn't that into social media. I don't really like social media. So it's more of a challenge. However, depending on your target demographic, they're probably using a very easy and oftentimes free way to market to your demographic and to gain new clients. So get into it. So plan and your budgeting is to find out how much do you need to set aside for your marketing and advertising. That's really based on your business plan and your practice on who you're trying to reach. Social media is, our social media strategy rather, is kind of like meal prepping. If anybody's familiar with meal prepping, one day in the week, you cook all the meals that you're going to eat, at least 2 of them for the next 5 days or so. That way you save money. And then when you're super busy and you get hungry all of a sudden, you have a meal that's already ready. Your social media strategy is very similar to that. So you basically want to sit down and figure out, things do I want to post on Monday? Let's say Monday is like Ask the Midwife Day. Tuesdays can be something behind the scenes. So you kind of show them what you do on a daily basis. You go to workshops and summits like this one. You go to continuing education workshops. So they kind of get pictures of what you do behind the scenes. Wednesdays can be pictures of families that from births that you've already attended, so on and so forth. So you just do that every day, and you kind of have it planned out already what you want to do ahead of time. Then you figure out, okay, what do I need? Do I need a picture for this? What copy will I use for it? What hashtags can I use for it? When you plan it out ahead of time, it makes it much easier. And yes, you guessed it, there is technology you can use to where you can schedule these posts. So you spend, let's say, one day doing an admin day, and you come up with your posts for the week, and then you schedule them, and then you're done. You can decide what day you're going to schedule, and then you hit enter and you can walk away from it. So the situation. And win-win strategy, and with other providers, either other practitioners, just other people in the community that you oftentimes refer to. So doulas, childbirth educators, chiropractors, IBCLCs, counselors, sonographers, create a win-win-win situation with them. Is it some kind of reciprocal relationship? If you go to any restaurant, any fast food chain, almost everybody has a rewards program where if you spend so much, you get something for free. That same type of situation should be happening within midwifery. And it's based on the individual person. It can either be, if I have a client that really doesn't have the funds, like after so many clients, is it okay for you to do this favor for me? And like, that's how you have it set up. Is it a situation where you kind of exclusively send to 1 or 2 people, and as a result, they'll give your clients a little bit of a discount? A great one is to set up something with the chiropractor. And you're like, hey, I'll send you my clients. Can I have free chiropractic care? Any of that type of stuff will work, but you want a situation where it's equitable. Your client gets good care, you get good care, and then the other provider is also getting what they need. And these are very, very doable to figure out what it is you want and how to set it up. And again, this would all be in your business plan. The end.
Okay, thank you. I thought those were some great tips, and I'm sure that a lot of people can take those and incorporate them into their business. And I especially like the points you were making about how having a good business plan is, it reduces stress and helps you take care of yourself and be happier by taking some of that burden off. We have a couple of questions that Mozeke gave us to have at the end of her presentation that we're going to do real quick, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So let me share my screen and bring up these poll questions. Okay, do you all see this? It should say, currently, what's the most challenging aspect of running your own business? And this is an open question, so you can type in your response. Time management. I'm sure that's the most challenging thing for most people. Mozeke, are these things that you would expect people to say?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah. Collecting payments, I'm sure that's a big one too. Okay, let's go on to the next one here that says, are you comfortable talking about money with your clients? I imagine if you're not comfortable when you start, you become more comfortable the longer you do it. It looks like most people are. Do you have any tips on how people can become more comfortable with it, just other than just practicing it, doing it?
One, just knowing your worth. For people who have used midwives, you know how much you appreciate what they do. Just being able to call them at the moment's notice and they stop everything and come to you, that's valuable. The other piece I think goes back to the business plan. Actually put it on paper, what everything is costing you. You're like, whoa, I'm not charging enough money. I need to charge more money.
Great points. Okay, the last question here is, do you know how much you get paid per hour? Wow, looks like most people do not. Do you have any advice on how to figure that out?
There's a few different ways to figure that out, but they all start with knowing your cost of services and your overhead. Once you know how much it costs to actually be a midwife and how much it costs to offer your services, then you can figure out how many hours do you want to spend with clients. Is there a cutoff? Is there a certain point that you say, I need to make sure that I'm staying within this time frame? Especially if you have a busy practice, you can't stay with each client for as long as they want. If you set an hour appointment, then your appointment needs to be an hour. And again, setting those boundaries, because one, you need to respect everyone's time. Each client has to respect the other client's time, because you don't want a client sitting in the waiting room, for an hour because the other person is just still talking. But once you know how many hours you spend with the client per client, and that's face-to-face time with them, you want to include text messaging, and even have an estimation for how long you'll be with them for the birth. then you use that information to figure out how much you get paid per hour. And of course, there'll be a little bit of fluctuation because sometimes you're with somebody a little bit longer than someone else. But generally speaking, you really should know how much you make per hour and how many hours you need to spend with each client.
Okay, I think those are great. I think it goes back to your one of your previous slides where you were saying that it's good to know what you need just to live and then what you need to live the life you want to live. So you need to know how much you're earning that way. Okay, so now let's go to the Q&A. Let me stop sharing this so I can pull up the Q&A. And let's see if we have any questions. We have a great job, Mozeke. Does she have suggestions on the apps to use?
Suggestions. So some of the apps that I'm currently using that I really, really love, they're all free. They're all with Square. So it's Square Appointments is what I use to make my appointments. So when at the end of an appointment with a client, we decide when your next appointment is going to be, and I set it with them right then, and then they get a notice on their phone that says confirm appointment. And then the reason I really like this is that it sends reminders, and you can set it up to do reminders whenever you want. It can be a week ahead, 3 days ahead, and you can send multiple reminders. So I really like that app. Also for doing invoices, you can again use Square Invoice. There's also PayPal, Payment, QuickBooks. There's lots of different options. Almost everybody will do recurring payments at this point. It's just about knowing what the technology will do and then setting it up. Because time management is a really big problem for midwives, because when somebody's in labor, we just dash off to them and all the other stuff we need to get done just goes on the back burner, which is why I like the automated reoccurring portion of it, because you can set it, you don't have to think about it anymore.
Yes, this one says, awesome presentation. I agree. And then we have one more question. I think they didn't hear. It says, what was the reminder app called?
The reminder app. Oh, the one that will send reminders. It's actually Square Appointments. So when you use Square Appointments to set up your appointments within that app, you can decide when you want the reminders to go out.
Okay.
The only app that you can use. I think there's Set More also does it, and lots of different calendars that you can use that will send out automatic reminders.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think those were the questions we had. We really appreciate you taking the time to do this for us.
You're very
thanks. Okay, so now let's see, we will be conducting a survey at the end of this presentation. I'm going to pull it up real quick so you can just see what will be coming. You don't need to do this right now, but I just want to have it up so you can see. We do a survey at the end of each of our summits, and this time we've decided to try to do it through Poll Everywhere. Each person will be able to complete their own survey, and you do it at your own pace. So you'll need to go to the address up at the top to complete that survey. And let's see, now I'm going to go to Heather Muir, Manager of the Medical and Health Professions section of Regulatory Program Management at TDLR, to give our closing remarks.
Thank you, Katie. So I want to start off with saying that Brian thanked several staff members at the beginning of the summit, but we wouldn't be here today without his vision. So a huge thank you to Brian for his leadership and for trusting our staff to implement his vision. I would also like to thank the remarkable presenters that we had today: Roxanne Anderson, Dr. Boyd, the tenacious Paige Jackson, who would not give up no matter what happened, Erica Steele, Mary Hoffman, and Jennifer Mozeke. We wouldn't be here today without their willingness to share their knowledge, stories, experience, and expertise. We are so grateful for your willingness to take time to prepare and present for us today. To show our appreciation, all speakers will be receiving a gift for their time. Presenters, be sure and check your email boxes and contact Katie if you don't receive your gift. We know that a virtual summit may not be the best model, especially for midwives who like to gather to communicate and support and care for one another, but we are so happy that this model allowed for our largest number of attendees since we started these summits 2 years ago. We know you are all deeply committed to your expectant mothers and that often traveling just may not be an option when due dates are looming, because we all know that babies are going to come whether we are ready for them or not. I cannot close today without acknowledging the amazingness that is Katie Bryce. We had run through and tried to be as prepared as possible, but the pesky technical difficulties still got us today. Katie handled every obstacle today with grace and calmness. I fear I would not have fared so well at all. So thank you, Katie, for moderating the meeting and for doing a phenomenal job. We all hope that you found today informative and will choose to participate or even present at future summits. Thank you for attending and being patient with us as we navigated through our first virtual summit. Thank you for the work that you do every day to ensure the health and well-being of your clients, their families, and your communities. As Katie said, there will be a survey posted at the conclusion. Please make sure that you complete that survey because it helps us prepare for future summits. And with that, that concludes our summit. So stay safe and be well. Thank you.